Hey everyone, welcome to the WuhooPoints podcast, episode 10. I have a really exciting guest. I got Jacob, founder of SkyKey, and you're going to, be asking from the title, what is SkyKey? What's so important? Basically, it's something everyone should sign up for, but we'll get into why later in this podcast. But first, Jacob, welcome. Please just introduce yourself, and we love talking about travel. So, just any cool trip that you've been on recently that you can share.
Cool. Yeah. Hey, Matt. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I came up with the idea for SkyKey about 2 years ago. Started it with a buddy of mine. Um, I've been all over the world. A recent trip, I was in Buenos Aires, Argentina. My wife's uh, sister's husband actually lives there, so we were visiting him and his family, and they're native to Argentina. So that was a great trip I went on recently. Um, I thought about the idea for SkyKey 2 years ago because I realized I had flights upcoming that were selling for less than I originally paid for them. And I've been really into aviation and travel for a long time. And when I was able to get the difference in fare back as a future flight credit or a refund, I realized that myself and most likely tons of other people weren't realizing that the price of their flight might drop after they book. And there's a lot of things focused on search and focus on points and all that, and we can get into that. But I sort of found a niche that wasn't being, I guess, looked at, and had a buddy who was able to help build the tech, and we started 2 years ago, and 2 years in, we're growing faster than ever, and yeah, look forward to discussing it with you.
Yeah, that's awesome because I'm talking all about credit card points, and we'll get into that. But especially with cash, this is a problem a lot of people face, as you said, like, and it's a opportunity cost, right? Do I check my ticket every few weeks, every few days, even to see if it dropped to just to save $20? But it sounds like what I've seen from your tool, it does that automatically, so I don't have to do any sort of checking. So yeah, tell me more about how exactly that works. Like, what do people have to do?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's funny you say that because when I realized that a couple of these flights I was able to save money on had dropped, I immediately thought about, and I have a very entrepreneurial background, so I'm always thinking about how I can make something better or build something but I was actually doing that for myself. So for a while I was just like going on the app for the airline and checking it every single day because at that point I didn't know how many flights, like what percentage of flights actually get affected. And now we're well into this and I can tell you it's almost half. So almost half the flights you book are gonna drop after you book it, and, we built SkyKey to save you money automatically when that happens. So the way that the product works is when you sign up, you either sync your email account or you can submit your confirmation numbers one by one on the website. Either way, most people prefer syncing their email because they only have to visit the site once. Anytime they book, change, or cancel a flight, all that data pre-populates in their SkyKey account, and then what we do is we go out and track the exact flight, the exact fare type that you booked against the price that you paid. If the price drops below what you paid, or if the points price drops below what you paid, we basically work with the airline to get you the difference in fare back. And so the vast majority of tickets booked are like economy tickets that are non-refundable, but are eligible for flight credits if the price drops. And so on those, you'll get a future flight credit. And so you'd get an email from us saying, "Hey, we save you, $50 on your flight. Check your Southwest account or your United account for the credit. Here's when it expires." Obviously, if you book a refundable ticket, that difference will go back to your credit card. And then if you book a points flight, the points will go back to your account that you booked the points with.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait to try it out. I haven't booked any 2026 flights, but the moment I do, I'm putting the confirmation numbers in. But what you talked about is very helpful. It's not just the money savings. Again, going back to the opportunity cost, I remember with Southwest, and they make it very easy when the price drops. You just click, get the fare
Sure.
difference, get the flight credit. United, on the other hand, I was booking this flight to Hawaii. The price dropped. I had to change a flight to a different flight because you can't, change it to the same flight and then change it back and got the credit and the difference there. It makes it such a more complicated process on top of, again, the checking every day. And like with points flights, I'm used to kind of, okay, knowing the release windows,
Sure.
but with right dynamic cash prices, it's just, it can happen anytime. So that 50% number is crazy to me because
Yeah.
like if I book a couple flights with Sky, or upload a Sky Key, I'm in a way guaranteed, right? I know you can't guarantee, but
Yeah,
the
yeah,
likelihood,
yeah.
right, is high that I would get some money back.
Yeah, and that number is a really broad number. It's based on
Yeah.
like an average of all the tickets that we see. Obviously, that changes depending on when you book. Like
Yeah.
the more you book in advance, the more chance you are to save money and guarantee yourself the lowest fare. I always
Mhm.
tell people like just book your flight when you know you need to take the trip, and um, we'll save you the money if it drops, and you'll have like that guarantee that you at least pay the lowest price that they sold the flight for.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so there's a lot of interesting elements to it. I would say definitely like one of the hardest things to build for us was like the tracking, right? Prices can change multiple times a day, and there's other companies, that have tracking mechanisms that can track the route or whatever. But when we set out to build it, is literally I built it for myself in the sense that it's like my co-founder Billy was like, Billy, I need to know exactly when the price drops. How do we do that? And that was really the hardest thing to do, and to build. So, we were very intent on getting that right and getting it accurate from the start, because that just affects everything we do. And yeah, now it's crazy 2 years later, like we're doing it for thousands of people. So here we are.
Yeah, no, I love the entrepreneurial mindset of you're your first customer, right? You're solving
Yeah.
the problem for yourself. Outside of yourself, I've seen some testimonials, but do you have like a customer success story that you really like sharing that you could, share here?
Of course. So one of our biggest customers is actually an event planning company. So the front end facing site that you see when you go to the website, theskykey.com, is what individual travelers use. But we also work with businesses and have a B2B element to what we do and build separate solutions for them as they are interested. One of our customers was a referral from one of an early Skykey customer who owns an event planning company. And she has people who are traveling all over the country to do events, set up events for other companies. They work with some of the biggest corporations. And so they have a ton of people that travel, and specifically like 85-ish people that travel. And we started a pilot with them last year to do a trip for them as a conference in Mexico. They were going to Cabo. And so we basically onboarded everybody in the company and saved a bunch of money on that trip. And what's really interesting and unique is that by the way the product works is obviously the business saves money over time when their people save money on travel, but those people also save money individually for their own flights. So they can like learn about it through their company and then use it for themselves personally. I said the 50% number earlier. We see that on that 50% of tickets that drop, it's about $120 on that set and per booking. So that includes multi-passenger reservations and stuff like that. But yeah, one of our biggest success stories is that an event, pretty large event planning company. I don't really want to say the name, but yeah, they've got tons of employees and have saved a ton of money with Skykey.
Oh, that's awesome. And that begs a question. I know, you know, airline seats have different supply and demand. If you're booking, three seats, you might not see the cheaper price. How do you guys factor that in, right? If I'm booking for three people, there's a price drop, but it's only for the one passenger.
Yeah.
You break up the reservation. Do you wait for the three? Anything you could share
Yep.
there?
Yeah. So that's a really interesting element to the whole thing. Obviously, that's pretty advanced, right? Like
Yeah, so many
optimization.
dynamic
Yeah, there's a
variables.
lot of dynamics. One thing that we take really seriously is like we do not want to change anything about your reservation.
Mhm.
So when you upload your ticket or sync your email and all your tickets upload, and we get you savings, if you were to go in and refresh your ticket on your own in your account, nothing should change. Your seats stay the same, the times are the same, your fare class is the same. If you paid extra for a specific seat, that seat will be the exact same. And so because of that, to answer your question, if you book with 3 passengers, essentially, we will only, get you savings on that reservation if there are savings available for 3 passengers. So we won't break the booking up and put it into separate bookings. Obviously, that's definitely something people would like advanced people would prefer down the road, but we really, you know, I travel with family and multiple people, and I just, it's one of those sensitive things where I don't wanna mess anyone's flight up, and so we take that seriously. And so passenger number will always stay the same no matter what. We won't put it into different reservations,
Yeah,
even if we could. Even if we could, like we see the opportunity sometimes, but we just don't do it.
no, that's totally fair. Like, yeah, for me personally, I will, do that for myself. But again, the majority of savings just come from the time and the money, anyway. So, um, that makes sense on your end.
I
Probably.
would say, yeah, I would say to your point, right? I would say to your point, if you have, I would say more than 4 passengers, think about booking separate reservations for that reason, right? Sometimes we see reservations come in with 8, 10 passengers,
Hmm.
and it just makes it a lot, less probable that you're going to get savings on a price drop because of that, the supply and demand and that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
No, man, that makes sense. So I do want to move into like the point side. That's the world I live in. Obviously, you're still familiar with it. And a lot of my or this audience will be booking a lot of flights on points. And that was crazy to me, where you actually, for some of these airlines, well, actually, first, what airlines do you cover right now, or their plans or
Yep.
future ones? And then let's move on to points.
Of course. So we cover the largest 5 US airlines. So Delta, American, Alaska, Southwest, and United. And across those airlines, we can, basically get you automatic money back on all of them, on cash bookings, on points bookings, since we're about to cover points. We can automatically get you points back on Alaska, Delta, and Southwest today. On American and United, we're still working through some of the logistics on that. So we actually just, if an American or United points booking becomes cheaper, we will just ping you with an email and let you know about it, and say, hey, here's your reservation. It's cheaper. If you want to cancel and rebook, go for it. We kind of just do that as a courtesy because we haven't kind of nailed that quite yet. And, we definitely want to be upfront with that with people. So, yeah, United and American points, you just have to cancel and rebook. But if you're someone like you who's really astute with it, you get it for free. Whereas, if we do it for you for the other ones, like we charge
Yeah.
a fee for it.
Oh,
So,
that's the trick. Get
yeah,
in that early, guys.
yeah,
So yeah, because for me manually, I'll still have alerts set up. Like you probably know of Roam,
sure,
Seats to Air, all those like aggregators. They'll have alerts, so that's what I
sure.
use to notify when points drop. But they're not always the most accurate, and they don't do it automatically for me, right? I still have to go manually go
Yep.
in, like for your American Airlines United. But hopefully one day that's an automatic process that again saves that time. So that's really cool. In terms of this, we talk about the savings and you make commission off the savings for these cash prize. I saw it was like 25%. How do you calculate the points aspect?
Yeah. Yeah. So, the way the pricing works on cash bookings is 25% of the value we save. And because flights might drop multiple times, we've seen a certain number of flights drop over 10 times between when you book and when you fly. We'll stack the savings up and charge the amount when you depart. So instead of charging it like every time we save you money, one of the reasons for that is our corporate customers like do not want to get business expenses and have to do expenses every single time there's like a $10 savings or a $5 savings or a $50 saving. So we charge 25% of the value to your card when your flight departs. One thing people always ask is like, does the charge come from the savings amount itself? And the answer is no. So you'll get the full credit or the full refund for the full amount, and then we will charge the 25% on the amount. For points, um, when we set out to do points, we didn't want to get kind of like into a subjective valuation because different people value points differently. We figured that valuing it all the points at 1 cent per point was really conservative. And so if we save you 10,000 points, we convert that at 1 cent per point and charge you based on that. So if we save you 10,000 Southwest points on a flight, we'll charge you $25 for that. And that seemed to be well received by the market. Like no one's pushed back on that. I think we could probably get away with doing higher, but we like the simplicity of it and it works for us. I would say like honestly, 85% of our activities on cash bookings, maybe more. So we take a little bit of watered down profit on those.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, one to one is, yeah, it makes sense conservative, but that hopefully that will now encourage more people to kind of work with you guys, because that's still an insane amount of value that they're
Sure.
saving and
Yeah,
paying for. So it's well worth it in my mind.
100%. Yeah, that's kind of how we wanted to do it. It's like for American United, it's like a courtesy right now. It's free product um, for points, obviously, and then for the other ones, just 1 cent per point is the valuation that we assign
Yeah.
when we go charge you.
I also appreciate what you were saying, like you just charge it all at the end, because I can imagine, you said 10, I get 10 emails throughout the course of a couple months. You're taking a little bit here and there. That doesn't provide like a seamless, I think, customer experience. But this piece, you can kind of see, $100, whatever it is, saved, and uh, it's more impactful because you're like going on that trip. What's like the so you've been at this for 2 years, you probably have some data points you shared about the 50% kind of flights drop. What are kind of the other data points you're willing to share in terms of average savings for people, again, like assuming most people are booking economy, or other just cool data points you found that you didn't even expect?
Yeah, there's a ton, right? And I think like the biggest takeaway is, but by far the biggest takeaway is when you know you want to go somewhere or you need to go somewhere, just if you're comfortable with what the price point is when you look at it the first time, just book it, right? There's so many products that have come before us that try to predict when the price drops. There's so many products today that will try to tell you if it's more expensive or if it's going to get cheaper. And some of those products are directionally correct, can be directionally correct, but it doesn't, I never found like it provided a lot of value. Um, so the biggest takeaway is just book your flight as soon as you know you need to take it and upload it to SkyKey. Obviously, we'll make sure that you pay the lowest price for that flight between when you book it and when it flies. Um, one big thing that I would mention is basic economy, right? So SkyKey does not work for basic economy tickets. That's because the airlines don't allow changes to basic economy tickets. There's some nuances there with airlines that do allow changes and fees that are sort of involved, but SkyKey doesn't make changes on basic economy tickets, and we don't like we can't get savings for customers with those. And a lot of people book basic economy. So if you're ever looking at booking a basic economy ticket, we always tell people we expect to save you, call it about $60 every flight per passenger. That includes the flights that you won't save money on. So over time, so it's about $120 every other flight. So over time, $60 a booking. If you're looking at booking basic economy versus main or the next fare up, I would look at booking main if it's around that $60 or less, and a lot of times it is. It's not usually hundreds of dollars more. It can be on international trips or transatlantic or cross country flights, that kind of thing. But that's one tip, because people are always looking for the cheapest fare but don't realize that with SkyKey, if you book main or economy or up, over time, like, you'll also get to pick your seat for the cheapest fare. And sometimes we even see, this is the worst, is like when we see flights come in where someone books basic, someone books main on the same trip, and the main person who books main or economy ends up paying a lesser price than the person who books basic. So honestly, like, I get everyone has a different financial situation, but try to avoid basic economy whenever possible. That's one point I would say. The other one is a lot of people, and I'm sure you're familiar with this in your world, we see a lot of tickets where people book money and miles as a combo. So they do partial money, partial miles. And I would say that there's two reasons you don't want to book tickets like that if you can avoid it. Number one is SkyKey can't save money on those tickets very often. It's very rare where the airline will allow for a price adjustment on tickets booked that way. So you lock yourself in, number one. Number two, the uh, you know points value that you get on those tickets is usually 1 cent per point. It's not good, right? And there's usually better value for your points. Even if you're going to use, an airline's points to book a flight, you're going to get probably the worst value if you use a money and miles combo. So I would say avoid basic economy, avoid money and miles combos. Those are the two main things. And then the third thing is, it's not really a data point, but like, um, we never recommend people book on third party OTAs, right? Like we find that the cheapest prices over time come from booking directly through the airline. That's how we can also handle tickets too, right? If you book through Expedia or Orbitz, or I don't know, what's another one? Kayak sometimes. I guess they're not. I guess technically they book through the airline when you go through Kayak, but some of these third parties, right? This just cause a lot of issues, right? And it's not necessarily going to be cheaper, and we're not going to be able to do a lot for you. That includes booking flights through travel portals like Chase Travel or Amex, stuff like that.
We're
So
preaching to the choir of like,
yeah,
I tell
I
them
would
avoid at all costs.
avoid all that stuff if you can. People people love using it because they think they're like not spending real money,
Yeah.
but the value you're getting over time is a lot less. So try to avoid that if you can.
Yeah, no, all 3 points are the things I repeat as well. Like, yeah, the miles plus cash, bad value,
Yeah.
third party, it's not going to be helpful. So I'm glad we're super aligned over there. I did want to go back to your point about like different competitors because in just terms of my customer experience, these competitors I'm looking at, yeah, they'll say like, hey, we can lock in your fare, pay this extra money if it drops, we'll give you that. But that I never do that because of that uncertainty, right? I'll use them as a guide, as you said. Like Google Flights has, this high, historically high, low, and they can give kind of a predictor if this is a cheap or expensive. But yeah, there's just a lot of uncertainty, or again, you have to pay for something unknown. Again, that's why I think your competitive differentiation is cool, where I don't, in a way, have to pay you until you actually do your service.
Exactly.
That like
Exactly.
confidence is super helpful.
Yeah, I don't know if you play like blackjack or anything like that, but in blackjack there's a concept of like taking insurance,
Yeah.
right? And like when an ace comes up and when you get offered insurance, it's usually always a bad idea.
Yeah.
And it's the same way in the business that we're in. There's players, like you said, that will, say, hey, pay me this amount. And if it drops, we'll secure it for you. Often that insurance amount that you're talking about could be like 5 to 10% of the ticket value, not the amount they save you, which is
Yeah.
a lot. And that's way more than what we would charge if we save you money. So we see people do that too. Like, never do that. It's almost always a bad idea. It's a
Mhm.
bad idea because you're booking through a third party, and it's a bad idea because you're, getting hit with an extra fee with
Yeah.
insurance. Just try to avoid that if you can.
It
Exactly.
it's just all the marketing. Oh, you're getting a discount. Oh, you get a package discount. It's just
No, no,
no.
yeah, no,
So I'm glad this is a great alternative. So let's talk about the vision for the future. Obviously, only share what you're, willing to share. You've been at this for 2 years. I can see this being a, keystone product for just a lot of travelers. What is there to come that you've heard customers say they want? Again, only if you're willing to share things you're working on
yeah,
or things
yeah,
you
yeah.
predict. United American Miles maybe is in the
Sure.
the pipeline, but any like cool things you'd be willing to share?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things to consider, right? When you're building a startup, especially a small company at this point, like it's always a trade-off is like, do I want to go deep on something or do I want to go wide?
Hmm.
And where we are today is like we want to be the best at what we do, and I think we are the best at what we do. And what we do is not easy, right? Like, to build a technology to know exactly when something
Yeah.
happens to the price of your flight is not easy. There's a couple, startup shops that try to sort of emulate what we do and do the same thing. And I tried those products and they didn't really work the same way. And, you know, doing what you say you're going to do is super important to us. And we really, really care deeply about providing the value on the product that we have today. And there's a long way to go on that, right? We, want to continue to scale and continue to deliver. I would say, a big push for us is on the B2B side, right? Like, obviously we're talking about individual travelers here, but like I said, work with businesses and corporate customers, and that's sort of a big push for us. Especially because travel agents, the traditional travel agent is a little bit antiquated, right?
Mhm.
Like, travel agents should be providing the service that we provide to their customers, but they don't. And we know that because we talk to travel agents,
Yeah.
and they don't know because they don't have the technology to track it like we do, right?
Mhm.
So there's an opportunity with travel agents, to license the technology and stuff like that. And when it comes to like what customers want, um, I would say one key theme that has come up a lot is there's a lot of different travel products, right? So there's products that will track your itineraries so you can use it to look at all your upcoming travel. And then there's SkyKey and we'll get you money after. And then there's Google Flights where you go to search for your flights. And there's all sorts of different steps. So when you're looking to book a trip, and maybe there's a points optimizer who's tells you how to optimize your points. So there's all these different elements in travel, and eventually we do want to become a one-stop shop for all those things. And we have lots of products and services like that under development today, but it just takes a lot longer than I think people think and appreciate to be able to build good products, right? I really before starting Skykey, I was a product manager for another company and building products like just building products that work and deliver what they say they're going to do is very, very difficult in and of itself. Marketing them and talking about them and saying that they do one thing is actually really easy, but actually delivering the value is where all the hard work happens behind the scenes. So we're going to continue on the path we're on, continue delivering savings for flights as best as possible, best in the business, and see if we can expand from there.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. This next question, feel free to tell me, you don't want this online. I'm just personally curious.
Sure.
Because I know Skiplag, how they operated, they saved people money by, doing something, the airlines really frown upon, and so they got sued. It sounds like to me that you're working with these airlines, so I don't think you're gonna get sued. But is there any like I don't know what's the right word, not animosity, but like friction between you and the airlines?
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like that, but maybe there is.
No, it's a great question, and yeah, definitely feel free to share it. No, it's a great question. It's funny actually. Before I started Skykey, I was about to go work for one of the largest airlines in the U.S.
Mm,
And it was kind of at the same time I was starting the company and talking to these executives about the idea. And one of the biggest things about Skykey and what we do is like the biggest thing we do is actually provide more business for the airline.
mm,
And if you think about it, right, most tickets were the value we're providing is in the form of a flight credit. So if you book a $400 flight and the price drops to 300, we're going to get you a $100 flight credit back that it can be used for a future flight. But the airline already captured the full $400, right? And so what's actually going to happen is you're going to next time you're looking at booking a trip for your next trip, you're going to have a $100 credit on airline A, and you're going to have no credit on airline B. And then you're going to be incentivized to book more travel because the $100 you're unlikely to find a flight for $100. So it's self-perpetuating. And the airline executives I've talked to in the space at the companies that we support think this is a great thing for them. And we actually like can prove and show the added business that we generate for them. So it's a question that gets asked a lot for us, but ultimately what we do actually helps them and drives further business and increases engagement, right? Like it's sort of a gamification element too. Like if you have a flight credit to use on one airline, you know, you're gonna what we see is like people then want to book more travel. They're like, I got to use that. So then they're going to go use that and they're going to pay more money. And then, it's the airline makes more money over time because of it. And it's also customer friendly. So their customers like benefit from it and they also benefit from it. So we take great pride in like providing that value to both sides of the market. And so it's just not something that I think a ton about in terms of
yeah.
being worried about it.
I'm glad you shared that. It's basically a net positive versus skip lag. Like people are scared. Okay,
Right.
don't do this. Don't put your freaking fly in it. Versus this, it's a net positive for both you and the airline and the customer.
Right. And the other thing too is other element of this is that we drive people to book directly with airlines, which is better for them because they
Yeah.
don't have to take an agency fee or pay a third party to market their fares. Um, really the advent of OTAs in the 1990s and 2000s came from, they just basically beat the airlines to the internet. And so airlines would market their fares that way and then they have to pay them for that service. We, encourage and drive people directly to airlines. We don't make money for that, but that's what we tell people to do. And we see people changing their behavior, booking higher fares, right? So not basic economy, booking higher fares, and then also booking direct. So
Yeah.
there's sort of multiple elements to what we do that really benefits them.
Really, really fits. No, that's
Exactly.
just want to wrap up now. Leave you with the last word. Anything else you want to share about either yourself, Sky Key, or anything else?
That's a good question. Yeah, I'd say this. I mean, we're really passionate about what we do at SkyKey. Like we love helping people save money on travel. I'd encourage people to check out the product. It's theskyKey.com, totally free to sign up. like we've said before, you only pay money if you save. There's no subscription, there's no pay up front, nothing like that. You only pay money if you save or if we save you money. And if people ever have questions, feel free to send them my way. We have multiple areas of customer support, chat, phone, the whole nine yards, and I'm happy to work with people directly. So I love travel. I love this space and this industry, and hopefully we're just getting started.
Yeah. So that's awesome. But thank you very much for your time.